How's it going, everybody? This is BeatTheBush. Today we're going to look at salary dependence. Now, salary dependent, it's kind of like saying you're spending paycheck to paycheck. It does not matter what kind of job you're working at nor how much salary you're taking in. You could be taking in $30,000, $50,000, $100,000. As long as you're spending way too close to the amount that your paycheck is taking in, this means that you're really dependent on your job in order to sustain your lifestyle. Now, no matter what kind of salary you bring in, if you're living paycheck to paycheck and you're not saving too much, that means you're kind of living on the edge, and if anything happens, you likely do not have that much saved up and it's not going to weather any kind of job loss. The way most people look at it is you bring in $1,000. Oh, I have $1,000 to spend. So they're able to spend all the way up to $1,000. The better way to look at this is if you spend a certain amount of money today, you have to look at how much time it's going to cost you before you can retire early. Now, the larger amount of money that you spend, of course, is going to cost you more time in order to earn it. Most people would just look at the hourly rate and then just go, oh, I'm spending, $100. It's going to cost me so many hours in order to make it. Now, this is the wrong way to look at it, because if you invest this money instead, it's going to balloon up and it's going to be a lot bigger by the time you retire. Albert Einstein once said that the most powerful force in the universe is compound interest. Now, there's a lot of wisdom to this, and let me just try to illustrate this. If you started working at age 25 and then you retire at age 65, it means whatever amount of money that you put in the stock market and invested wisely, you're going to have 40 years of compound interest working for you. Historically, over the last 90 years, the S&P 500 has gained about 9.8% annual return. This is on average, 9.8% on average every single year. Now check out this chart I made over here. You'll see an interest rate return of 8%, 6%, or 4%. You have various years of compounding that you can choose from. So if you're age 25 and you plan to retire at age 65, whatever amount of money you spend today, you can use this multiple in this chart to figure out how much it's actually costing you, how much you actually have to earn at 65 in order to make up for this amount that you spend. This graph here is a result of that previous chart. You can see here, the more years you have in compounding, of course, the higher the multiple here. If you assume the 4% compounding, it's not going to increase as much over the years. If you assume 8% compounding, it's going to increase a lot more. Now, let's say you're at age 50 and you're going to retire at age 65. You have 15 years of compounding. So the multiple is not as great. So you can kind of look at it like this. Whatever age you plan to retire at, the closer you are to it, the less time it has to compound. This means that the closer you are to your retirement age, the less costly it is for you to actually spend that money. The other side of saying this is the farther away you are from your retirement age, the more important it is to save and let the compound interest, the compounding of the stock market take effect. Let's take a PS4 for example, because this is something that a 25-year-old would likely buy and it costs $300. If in the future we assume the S&P 500 is going to get about an 8% return, people kind of estimate it's going to be a lot lower, but let's just go with 8% right now. I did just say that the S&P 500 made an average gains of 9.8% over the last 90 years. So saying that it will make 8% is actually a little bit conservative, and saying that it's 8% kind of makes up for the 2% estimated inflation every single year. So this estimate here includes inflation. If we assume the 8% compound interest over the 40 years, you'll have a multiple of 21.7. So whatever $1 that you spend today, you have to earn $21.7 to make up for that $1 that you spent at 25. At 65, you're gonna go, oh my gosh, instead of buying that PS4, I have to now work so many hours. Assuming a PS4 is $300, you multiply this by 21.7, it's $6,500 at the age of 65. In hindsight, if you're at 65, well, you might go, oh yeah, buying that PS4 was so worth it. Right now, I'm okay with working so many hours to make that $6,500. But if you look at the difference here, it's quite a bit. A 21.7 multiple might kind of make you think twice before you actually go and buy this game console. Now let's be a little bit more conservative here and we assume a 6% average annual returns. You're young and crazy at the age of 25, so you buy a really hot car for $30,000. Another person that's not young and crazy and instead they buy a $10,000 car that is usable for the same amount of years, that person saved $20,000. And instead of blowing this money and buying a hot flashy car, they invested instead. That 20K at the age of 25 with 6% compound interest is actually a 10.3 multiple here. This means this 20K is gonna balloon up all the way up to $206,000 by the time you retire. You can either buy a $30,000 car at the age of 25 or at the 65 where you're old and you can't really drive that much anymore, you can buy a $206,000 car. Now this takes into account inflation, so you can think of what kind of car can you buy for $206,000 today. Now this is interesting to look at. You can't really go, oh, I'm gonna save everything because I'm gonna spend it all later, because you don't really know if you're gonna die the next day, get run over by the bus or something. So you still gotta spend some money today and live a bit today as well. So from a scale of 1 to 10, let's assume 1 is where you have basic food, shelter, and internet. And 10 is actually spending your whole entire paycheck, where most people are actually doing, and you splurge it and you spend it all the way to nothing. Then my recommendation is actually dialing it all the way back to 0 and put your spending somewhere around a 2. Now this means that you're not going to buy all the fanciest, latest gadgets, but you will have a little bit of spending cash to just live a little bit today still. Just to give you an idea of rough numbers where I think people should be spending, if you make $50,000 a year and you spend $30,000 a year in living expenses, it means $10,000 is in taxes, another $10,000 you put in savings. So what I recommend here is actually taking perhaps 10 to 20% of that $10,000 and put that into kind of like a crazy money fund. You just spend this on crazy stuff like going to the movies or something, or going to the Caribbean vacation once a year. You need to have some amount of money where you just go, oh, I'm not gonna think about every single penny here and trying to skimp on everything. So this is the fun money, crazy money fund here. I hope you guys enjoyed this way of thinking of how much things actually cost you. The sticker price of whatever you buy today is actually very different if you invested wisely. Don't forget to give me a like on this video, comment down below. Let me know if this changes your habits of buying big ticket items. If you're interested in supporting this channel, don't forget to check out my Audible link down in the video description below, where you can get a free audiobook. And if you use this audiobook during your commute, you're actually gonna save a lot of time instead of reading this book at home during your free time. Because if you listen to it during your commute, you're actually kind of double dutying your the time that you're spending during your commute. This is a free audiobook trial, and if you don't like this audiobook or this service, you can cancel it before the trial period ends and you don't have to pay a thing. So the whole ordeal, you pay 0 and you get to try out this audiobook. You can keep the audiobook for free and you can listen to it as many times as you want afterwards, and you can still help benefit this channel just by doing all this. If you're interested in supporting my channel directly, I have a Patreon link over here where I give various perks at various contribution levels. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to my channel over here and click that bell icon so that you get notification whenever I upload a brand new video. Thanks for watching.